Today we are doing the newbie booktube tag, and whilst I am not exactly new, if you look at my subscriber count, I am very new to booktube. I still feel new, I still am new, but I recently reached out to Criminology blog. I just had to pull up the account on my boyfriend's computer so I could, because names, just brain fog. I'm looking at you, Chloe Huntington, who knows exactly how bad it gets. Whose advice when I was like, what do I do next for my YouTube channel? And he was like, watch other people for inspiration and also think about the books that you really love. Now this is the problem. I love lots of books. I also hate lots of books. I also have lots of stuff that I need to do, but I don't want to do those things. But we're going to do the newbie tag because I was watching a video by Kristen Elise, who I will also be putting somewhere in the comments when I figure out how to use YouTube, because I don't understand this YouTube that well. But Kristen Elise is new to the booktube. She answers 10 questions, and so today we're going to be answering those 10 questions. And also, it's weird how much of booktube is actually networking, and I have never been great at networking. I just like commenting and talking to people. It's fun, it's great, it's just, let me talk. First question, why did you start this channel? I'm gonna be honest, I was bored. I liked watching booktube, and I was sick of seeing the exact same 6 books being talked about, and the only books in my algorithm on YouTube when I was looking up books. In fact, I was so sick of seeing it that I was like, well, there must be other content creators out there, and there are definitely other books. We have a diverse range of books, and I am sick of seeing the exact same stuff regurgitated, re-spoken about. I want to see and hear about other books because I'm bored. This is a very boring algorithm. I want content. I don't want the same rubbish being sold to me again, because you've sold it to me so many times that now it's just annoying. I'm looking at you of a Court of Roses, or whatever it's called, Akotar. Everyone's obsessed with that. I feel like that's booktube in general, and I'm like, that's cute. I don't want to see any more booktube stuff on it. No offense if you like that stuff. I do still owe my mate who paid me £20 to roast the series, and why I don't want to, I still have to make that video at some point. Unfortunately, that means I have to read the book because of my own brain fog. I'm going to enjoy that when that time comes. Why I don't like, yeah, it's looming over me, and I don't like it. But I started this channel because I wanted diversity in books. I wanted to see a diverse range. I wanted to see more book reviews about specific books rather than, here is a book review, but we're going to talk about 5 or 6 books. Like, I wanted to be able to search in YouTube a specific book and have a book review on that book. I don't care if it was full of spoilers, because I'm going to read it. I just want to know if it's going to be my taste, my niche, something I'm going to enjoy, or is this something I'm going to not finish within 5 minutes of picking up. Does anyone else pick up a book and just think, absolutely not? Shoot. Let's see. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to your booktube? My personality. We'll just leave it at that, because let's be real, my personality is constantly changing, and can anyone keep up with me? I'm looking at the people who come here from all my other social medias. I know for a fact none of you can keep up with me, and I know for a fact that I also have friends who look at me and are like, what is going on in your head? Here's the answer. Even I don't know. So if I don't know, I'm not going to expect you to know. What are you most excited for about this new channel? Book recommendations that I've genuinely going to enjoy, because again, I want to heal my booktube algorithm. I want to see things that other people also enjoy that is niche. I've always been into the niche. I don't want any of this marketing same 10, 6, whatever number it is now. I hate fads. I hate how they come and go. I want something that feels fresh, tasteful, delicious. I want books that invite me and reinvigorate my joy of reading, which kind of brings me on to the next one. What are you most excited for about this new channel? Fixing my algorithm. I'm so sick of booktube being like, here you go. How, like, for instance, something I am going to eventually talk about is Frostheart. I don't see anything, like, I don't really read. I'm surprised that I have gone into middle grade books, but I gotta be honest with people, this is where most of the stuff is happening. Books from 2012 or before. I feel like a lot of newer books have just gone, like, downhill. Like, I'm reading the books and I'm like, this wasn't your best. This wasn't their best. This wasn't the best in any ways. It was just, I don't like being bored. I want a good book. And when I want a good book, I want to know I read for enjoyment. I don't read because it's what everyone else is doing. And I really do not like this whole, I'm not like other booktubers, and I know it's going to be really annoying when I say this, but I don't want to be like other booktubers. So if I do start becoming like that, feel free to call me out on it. Please call me out on it. Please call me out on it. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Avoiding traps, avoiding becoming one of them channels which does start doing repetitive content in terms of what everyone else is doing. I want to do what other people are doing, but I want to do what I love rather than what the crowd are doing. Next question, when did you start reading? I've been reading since before I could walk. I like, not properly, but my mum always had a crate of books that she used to get from her dad, and I've always, well, she used to anyway. I remember this green basket in our dining room full of, like, there were a lot of crime books in there, but like fictional crime books, which kind of was my niche. So you've got, like, I'm trying to think, Jeffrey D. If you give me a second while I just quickly get some names. So I made the mistake of asking Google to give me some names of old books, and it hasn't. So I'm just gonna talk about the ones that I do remember. James Patterson. Vanished Man was one of the books that I absolutely fell in love with the front cover of. I think that might actually have been James Deaver or something like that. I feel like James Deaver is... Yeah, it was James Deaver. Anne Cleeves was in there, but I have tried reading some of Anne Cleeves' book, and I like, especially the recent ones, they are just so boring to me. I don't know what it is. Like, oh, it's a reunion. You've already lost me. This is kind of why I am leaning more into like fantasy books, but I like fantasy books that I don't really hear other people talking about, because there's a point of hearing the same thing spoken about over and over again that I just lose interest. And I don't like as soon as I've lost interest, it is incredibly difficult for me to get that interest back. I want to keep my interest. Either way, my mum had this massive book collection that she would get from my granddad, her dad, and that's kind of what drew me into reading, because I always loved how my mum had this and she would work her way through them slowly, and it was never the sort of books that I would consider the lonely housewife books. Now, for those of you who don't know, I don't think this is something I've necessarily talked about on this channel a lot, but I consider lonely housewife books wartime romance. Nothing against wartime romance, but you know the sort of book I'm like, the vibes that those kind of books are. I hate those books. I hate those books. If it screams lonely housewife, I am not touching that book at all. And some of Anne Cleeves' books tailor towards that audience, which is why I could never get into her. Heck, even James Patterson these days either leans towards something that feels like it was wrote by AI, even though it wasn't, or something for the lonely housewife, which, hey, if that is your audience, at least you know your audience. 10 out of 10. I don't know who my audience is. I'm hoping it's other people like me who just get bored very easily, and you can't have the same stuff regurgitated to you, because then you're like, is there anything new on this earth? If you enjoy a book, tell me what you love about it. Tell me what you hate about it. Tell me something new. Tell me something I don't already know. Otherwise, do not bother. It is boring, you know? It's the same reason why I love reading, which was Kristen Elise's next question. And then there's another question here, which is, what book or series got you into reading? And quite simply, I do not know, but I can remember when I was a child enjoying Enid Blyton, Jacqueline Wilson. There was like Famous Five. You've got, what was that series? The Sapphire Girl. And then there was like the Emerald. There was, I know I mentioned Famous Five. there's the Secret Six, all those kind of books. Sherlock Holmes was bread and butter to me. Like, I used to love reading even the Sir Conan Doyle's books. I don't know what it was that drew me to them, but I loved them. And as I've gotten older, I've started to realise I lean towards mystery. I like fantasy, but I also like seeing queer representation because it wasn't necessarily there, or when I did see it, it was demonised. Can we stop demonising gay people? I just want to see them going on adventures. I don't need the plot to be that they are gay. I just want a gay, like, if he's gay, that's just part of who he is. Let him go and be a pirate. Books that focus too much on romance, I will fall asleep reading. I'm not here to fall asleep. I'm here to read something refreshing. The next question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Question 8. Where do you read? Everywhere. I read everywhere. I will read in the bath. I will read on the bus. I will read anywhere that I can plonk myself down with a book. I was reading in McDonald's the other day, and I could hear people around me looking at, like, talking about the book that I had in my hands, because I was in there for 3 hours and I read the entire book of which one was it? Percy Jackson and the Chalice, the Chalice one. And I will be honest, it was really refreshing to also not only be sat in a McDonald's, but also to hear people being like, I've not seen Percy Jackson in years. Is she? Is he? Like, people couldn't figure out my gender. I felt like a king in that moment. People trying to figure out my gender with what I was wearing. I felt like a king. Like, keep them guessing. But then to hear other people around me talking about the book I was reading, be like, Percy Jackson. Didn't they have that one film? That, you know what? If I can get people talking about a book, I've done my job. Which, it's an unpaid job, but I've done what I wanted. What kinds of books do you like to read? I feel like I've covered this in this video quite a bit. I'm very much into the fantasy. I really liked C.G. Drew's Don't Let the Forest In. That has been my favourite read so far of the year, with a strong contender of Wilder Girls. And I can't, if you give me like 2 seconds. Rory Power. I also read the free book that they had online, but Wilder Girls by Rory Power was a brilliant read, so if you haven't checked it out, please do. But I found it was something that Goodreads actually recommended to me because I highly rated and kept commenting about on the Goodreads website about Don't Let the Forest In, and then I saw Wilder Girls. I remembered Goodreads had recommended it at the local library. I picked that book up and I ate it like it was bread and butter. Again, that was another 5-star brilliant read of the year. And this, just the book itself was really heartbreaking, but we're not going to get into that here. And I will eventually do a review. It's just finding the way to describe it. I know it's only got, like, it's usually a 3 to a 4-star, and a lot of people are like, no, but it was post-apocalyptic. That book broke me in ways that I cannot even begin to explain. The book was first published in 2019. So again, Wilder Girls by Rory Power. If you have not read it and you like dystopian horror, this is one of those books. It's horrific what those girls went through in that book, but I absolutely doted on it. What does your book collection look like? This is the last question on the newbie tag, and that is, it is tiny. So I have some new books here, but I have this mindset, because I keep seeing on Booktube people with these massive book collections, and a part of me thought that that was the goal, that's what I wanted, until I found out the majority of these books are not read. And there's a big difference between book collecting and reading a book, which is why I'm trying to get back into using the library. And sometimes when I do these library hauls, I will admit I will not read half of them. I will pick up half of them, and I'm only reading the ones that I genuinely can find myself invested in. If I don't like the book, that's it. Not touching it. I'll give every book a try. If I don't like it, I'm not going to force myself to enjoy it. Sometimes I do go back and I will look at my 1-star, my 2-star reviews, and I will pick up one of those books. And you know, that could end up being one of my future 4-star or 5-star reads. But if I'm not in the moment enjoying it, I'm not going to finish reading that book. That book's going back to the library. but my book collection is at the moment consistent, mostly of books that I have gotten from friends over the years, books my mates want me to read, and books that I have bought from Waterstones. If I finish a book and I love it, I will keep it on my shelf, but then once my emotional attachment has gone from that book, I will either sell it on or donate it for someone else to enjoy, because I don't like this idea of books that are stagnant, books that are still, books that aren't being enjoyed, because it's, to me, books are something you're supposed to read. There's something you're supposed to enjoy, and if they are sat on your shelf doing nothing, you aren't enjoying that book. Which is why I'm trying to get more involved with the Booktube space, to find newer books, so that when I go to the library, hopefully I can engage my interest in these books again, but also I'm not spending money on books that I might not necessarily enjoy. And if I do, for instance, I got this Court of the Dead book, which is gorgeous. I've read it, I'm reading it for a second time, but I want my book collection to be small, and I want it to only have books that I am going to read that have been loved by someone else, recommended by someone else, or a book part of a series that I am so heavily invested in, I would be willing to pay full price to read the next book in the series. So my book collection stays on a little shelf, and I go through that quickly. It reminds me that I'm reading because I love reading, not for the act of it. But yeah, thank you to Kristen Elise, I hope I'm saying her name properly, for doing her video on the Booktube newbie, because I wouldn't have done this, the Booktube newbie tag, because I wouldn't have done this video without it. And also shout out to my English is going great. Criminally blog, who mostly posts about books about like crime, mystery, those sort of books. Part of the reason why I actually ended up following him is because I fell out with my mum and I missed the discussions about the books that she used to enjoy. She also doesn't really read as much as she used to, particularly in that genre. So it's really nice to see someone producing content about the books that used to bring me joy, hearing my mum talk about. Especially from a guy, and also someone who is quite honest and open about their mental health struggles. Like, as a trans guy, I struggle with like my idea of masculinity, with how I perceive men, and so it's really nice and refreshing as well to see what I would consider positive masculinity on YouTube, especially in the Booktube space. So again, Criminally blog, I highly recommend you go follow. But yep, that is it for my Booktube newbie tag. And I'm curious if this has inspired you to make your own version of these questions. I will put the questions in the description so you can see them, and I will also, hopefully, if I can figure it out, because YouTube seems to not be very friendly with me putting links in the description for some reason. I don't know what this is about. I don't know if this is a new thing. If not, I will always link in the comments, because I know it lets you post like links in comments for some reason. But I will see you guys in the next one, and I'm curious what your answers to these questions would be. Let me know, because Booktube is about community and as much as it is about books. Peace out.